I'm Dr. Vernaleken. Today we have two fun and exciting topics right before Christmas.
Yeah.
The second half we're going to talk about good Christmas gifts that are kind of our picks for your pets.
Yeah.
And then the first topic is lovely, the plague. Why did you decide we wanted to talk about the plague today?
Yeah, this is a little bit funny. So every month we kind of come up with like a powwow. What do we want to talk about? What should we discuss this current month? Anything that's new in the news, anything that's sort of, hot off the press. And I honestly did watch a segment on the Today Show about the plague. And it made me think we should discuss it today. So the CNN and Channel 7 News and the Today Show did this whole little segment on the Black Death, as it's known, the Bubonic Plague.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We thought we would talk about it. But no, in all honesty, it's very interesting, right? And it's also something that is a little bit pertinent, and it does relate to veterinary medicine because of the transmission and stuff. So I thought it would be something that would be cool to talk about, especially with everybody, or if you're going to be traveling to certain areas. So everybody sort of thinks about the plague as something that was back in history. That's not anything that's currently something you need to worry about anymore.
I think it would surprise a lot of people to know that the plague still exists and people still get the plague.
Yes. And some people will still die from the plague. And every year, the World Health Organization, the CDC, does keep track of cases just to make sure that we're not having any sort of outbreak, because you can get any outbreak of certain diseases, especially if it's still naturally occurring in certain areas. So, the World Health Organization actually just issued a warning that this could be like a re-emerging disease of concern. So this is something that I think should be on the minds of people, and there are things that we can do to help prevent it, and just to be aware of it. So first off, I thought that you should know that yes, it still exists in the world. There are certain countries that it is much more prevalent in. So Madagascar being a big one, places in China is another concern, and then there are some places in the U.S., New Mexico, California, that area, that region, that does have the plague still present.
Is there something about them from a climate standpoint that makes them more likely, or it just happens to be that it's festering there?
Yep, so it is. A lot of it is the way the plague is, or how it's transmitted, we probably should go into. It's transmitted by a certain type of flea. And so this little Oriental Rat Flea is the one that actually does.
Asian?
It is this little one that actually will do it. But I think it's an Oriental Rat Flea. It's the actual same term of it. Yersinia pestis is the actual organism, but it lives in those types of fleas. And so these fleas are just sort of naturally known for these particular areas. I guess it came to the U.S. from ships in Asia back in the 1900s, but that was sort of where it originally came from. But these fleas that live and they feed off of natural rodents in the wild, but as well as other hosts and people being one of them, they'll bite and then they infect with the organism. So the concern with the World Health Organization, or the concern the World Health Organization had, was that there were a few cases of the pneumonic form of this disease in China recently.
So that's the respiratory form?
Yeah. So the plague there's really three different forms of the plague. The first is the Bubonic Plague, which a lot of people just know the name of, but don't really know what that really means. So it just means that it's spreading through the lymph nodes. You start getting all of these huge swellings where the lymph nodes are, and then they kind of rupture in these abscess-like fashion, and then you become necrotic on your fingertips and your hands, and it turns black. So that's why it's called the Black Death. So that's the bubonic portion of it. That one has a very high fatality rate, but it's not as high as the other two forms, which are the pneumonic form, where it gets into the lungs, you cough and sort of produce this bloody discharge, and then you die shortly after that too as well. And then the most dangerous is the septicemic form of it, where it basically just goes systemic before you really have a chance to show any kind of symptoms or signs. Majority of people, when they're exposed by either getting bit by the flea itself. So you're in an area where these rodents are or these fleas are, and you're getting bit by a flea. You get exposed that way. Majority of the time, if people get exposed like that, they're getting the bubonic form. But you can also get it by eating infected rodent material.
So cats?
Yeah.
Cats.
Yeah.
I think of it as a disease in cats because we don't learn about it in humans, but I do remember learning this in vet school that cats can come in, and again, in the Southwest.
Yeah, you have to be really careful about that. And Also, if somebody else gets the pneumonic form, if they cough, actually that material that they're coughing is very infectious. So we get really worried.
What about with the bubonic form if you like touch the contaminated material?
100%. And even after people die, I mean, back in the Middle Ages when this killed almost like 50 million people in Europe in the Middle Ages. It basically dropped the world population like down 50 million people. It was dramatic. And they would just make these mass graves that they recently had gone back and saw, okay, what did these people actually die from in these mass graves? And they all were testing positive for this Yersinia pestis. So, but yes, it's very infectious. Even infected people that are, even after they're dead, they're still considered, infectious, and you have to be careful of handling even dead tissue from it because that organism is so nasty.
Is it treatable?
So nowadays, even though we do get worried about any kind of disease becoming a little bit more prevalent, and we get worried about things that have a very high fatality rate, it is treatable if you catch it early. So typically people will start showing signs 2 to 10 days like after exposure, but then they will die very fast afterwards. I mean, you can be dying within 24, 48 hours.
This is such a great Christmas topic.
If you're visiting relatives out in California or in New Mexico, I mean, yeah, this is like one of those things. If they have fleas, you gotta watch out. I mean, but I mean, it does sort of reemphasize like how important flea control is, right? I mean, so, if you do go out there, I mean, it is something that I think we all need to be cognizant of. If you do visit certain countries or you're going to visit relatives in China or Arizona's another big one. Yeah, those dry desert kind of climates really do produce it, or sort of harbor it. So, making sure that when you're traveling, you are being careful or cognizant. And that's not just for the plague, even though the plague might be reemerging. And I think that with China, they were worried about, and what the news report was mainly about, was that they are concerned that even though these 2 cases came out in November, they actually are worried that there might be a lot more people involved. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is that I guess the physician of these people had posted something on a public forum about, please be cognizant of this. This would happen. We had 2 cases of the plague, and it was only after that did China report it to the World Health Organization. So they're worried that there might have been other cases that they're trying to necessarily hide and not necessarily show that there might be, an epidemic going on, similar to what they did with SARS, back in the early 2000s. So I think it is something to just be very much aware of, when you are traveling, obviously. And if you are feeling really sick, and especially if you've traveled to a place of an endemic area, to make sure you're
really mentioned to your doctor who did the plague.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I mean, and I think it's also the larger issue that I think of is we don't always remember that when we're going from one region to another, but maybe we should consider what the diseases that your pet could be exposed to there.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's winter here. A lot of owners, we still suggest all year round flea and tick prevention, but a lot of owners stop it. Mm-hmm. We have snow on the ground here in Massachusetts. So you might not be thinking I should put flea and tick preventative on my pet, but if I'm going anywhere, Florida doesn't have the plague, but they have fleas,
right? Or
Arizona, I should make sure that I'm up on those things. Conversely, people coming from Colorado don't even know about ticks.
It's so true. Yeah.
There are ticks here, and you probably need to make sure that your pets are all up to date on the things that you might be exposed to in the location you're traveling to.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought it was interesting because how many times do people fly to see relatives? And if we are staying, especially in the U.S., I just don't think that people think that the U.S. is carrying plague currently.
Diseases.
And they are, and it is something that is easily transmitted to people. So, just being careful and cognizant about that. So I thought it was interesting.
It is interesting.
And I thought it's like scary. I kind of love epidemiology, and I find it fascinating. So the fact that it's had, such a huge impact in human history, I don't think we would ever get the mass numbers of deaths that happened back in the Middle Ages for antibiotics.
Just think of antibiotics. Right?
Yeah, because the antibiotics are so treatable. Even with antibiotics, there is still a mortality rate that, depending on when you're sort of seeking help throughout your course of the disease, you could still potentially have some serious complications.
Well, and then there's the whole thing about antibiotic resistance, and is this, a disease that could develop resistance?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
And we're not putting as much money into development of antibiotics as we should.
Right.
These things, so we should all be aware.
Yeah, and that's also a really good point. Antibiotics, people are always, wanting antibiotics from the doctors if they have a cold or whatever. And, the reason why your doctor doesn't always want to just throw in antibiotics, and your vet the same thing, is that there's not always a clinical reason to put you on antibiotics. Sometimes diseases need to run their course. Sometimes it's viral in origin and it doesn't need antibiotics. And so even though you might think, or you might be pushing your vet for antibiotics, letting them sort of make that clinical judgment and reassessing on how things are going, I think is really important, especially as we're entering in cold and flu season. Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's fun. It's cool. It's not very festive. Dr. Vernaleken had actually a much cooler, happier, festive theme of things that we could talk about today too.
Well, I just thought I'd come up with different ideas that I've had for kind of thinking outside of the box Christmas gifts for your pets, or maybe even things to avoid if we see common problems with some of the gifts that people get for their pets. So I kind of came up with a list here. I'm just going to refer back to it. But so toys.
Yeah.
Is there a particular toy that you feel like is just a winner all around?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Toys for cats.
I do. I honestly love, as far as like kitties and stuff go, I feel like if you can have room for it, I love cat trees, like good cat trees. And so, a lot of people will see in the stores, they get expensive and you can make your own if you are crafty. But the really big cat trees, cats adore. They love going up there and perching. The little ones, it's just sort of the piece of wood and the one little piece of wood that goes up. It doesn't really do much. You won't get too much attention from your kitties. Maybe you'll have a kitten. It's something. Yeah. But I feel like the big ones, if you have space for it, it's awesome. So I think that would be like a total slam dunk present if you get that for your cat.
Yeah, and cat trees, I think, giving them a variety of different scratching surfaces and stuff. Like, the thing is that a lot of diseases of cats are actually, their root is boredom, which you don't think about, like mental health in cats.
Right.
But mental health in cats is actually a real thing. And so, like, I just realized that, like, my 15-year-old cat likes the Cecil rope to scratch on and not carpet. Like, poor cat, 15 years, went without a Cecil rope, and now she's, like, on that every day.
Yeah.
So, they really, some of those cat trees are really great because they have little dangling toys and a Cecil thing and a carpet thing and like a high spot and a medium spot and a hammock. Like, not again to spend a lot of your money, but those are a great toy.
Yeah, because cats primarily they do sleep a lot anyway, so it's not saying that they're always super duper active, but yes, giving them that enrichment I think is awesome. And the fact that we feed the cats food in their bowls and we don't make them work for it ever. Feeder bowls I feel like are very underutilized in cats, but I feel like being able to give them some sort of activity to get their food I think would be a good thing as well.
Yeah, so that's the other category of toys that I came up with is puzzle toys. So you can get those for dogs and for cats to keep them active. And so I found a bunch of cute little things. So they have just balls where the cat has to bat it around, or dog has to bat it around to get the food to come out. There's these like snuffle things. I think this would last about 5 minutes in my house, but a snuffle ring where like
I haven't seen this before.
I've never seen it before either, but you can search for it. Snuffle toy, where you put the food in the bottom and they have to like snuff around it like it's a grass thing. Like there's all little, I don't know if they wash easily or not, but it's again just like a way to make them forage a little bit. Food. So, but there's a million kinds of puzzle toys. There are some, they'll be labeled beginner, intermediate, advanced.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cute things. My dog fixes, I have for my dog a little fish that has fish inside. She gets them out immediately. So I'm not saying
more advanced.
She's not advanced, but some of the toys are easier or harder than others.
Yeah.
And then there was this other one that I found for cats that I thought was adorable. It's like little fish that you put in a water bowl, and they
can scoop them
out.
They
can just like bat them around and like pounce at them.
That's awesome. There's one going around online right now that I saw on like Facebook the other day. It's like a fish that looks like it's a fish out of water, and it's a soft plush toy. And the cats on this commercial were pouncing on it, attacking it, eating it. It was fantastic to watch. So it really was cool.
So then treats, a lot of the time we get treats for our animals. And I would just say, like, don't forget to look for this seal, the VOHC seal. We will post it on a link on our Facebook site as well, so that you know what we're looking at if you're listening. But you're just going to go to the store and you're going to get treats. Which one do you pick?
Yeah.
Of course, you can pick the ones that your pets like the best, but those Oral Health Council ones are also approved for dental care, and so why not also get the benefit of clean and fresh
Definitely. If you can get your pet to like one of those as far as their main treat, it's fantastic. It's awesome.
And don't forget when you put when Santa comes and you're, under the tree is filled up or your stockings are filled up, that your pets might be able to get into that.
Oh yeah.
So don't put things out that are within your pet's reach when they're not, when you're not able to watch them, because we do see that, cat or dog destroyed something, ate the box, ate the wrapping paper.
Yes.
And ate the thing.
Yep.
And now they have a tummy ache.
I had that when I was a kid growing up. My parents, there was 3 of us, 3 kids, and my parents gave us like all these chocolates in our stockings, and our dog literally ate them all. Destroyed. So we walked down in the morning, and I will never forget this as a kid, thinking, oh my God, what happened to my stocking? All the stockings were ripped to shreds, and the dog had thrown up all the time. So it wasn't a very good Christmas morning. So yes, do watch that.
Water fountains, we talk about water fountains all the time. I just went shopping for water fountains because mine broke. You have to think about a lot of things with the water fountains. How does it look? How loud is it? What's it made of?
Mm-hmm.
I just delved into, I got a stainless steel water fountain finally.
Oh, that's nice.
Because the plastic ones that I used to get always got all this like etching and staining, and they just look dirty even when they're not, or like the sun browns them if they're white. So I do like those. There's not a lot of the stainless steel ones, but water fountains are fun for everybody. Might put some of those fish in there and see what happens.
Catnip too. Catnip is great. I don't know if you haven't tried catnip with your cat. I think you should. It's
not
a lot of
every
fun.
cat responds to it, but when they do, they're
it's fantastic.
cute. We talked before about the microchip cat feeder, microchip pet feeder actually,
which I love.
I still love those, and I still advise those, or any kind of feeder. A Christmas gift is more for you than it really is for the pet sometimes.
As you picked out, I think you had a few gifts I think were mostly for you as opposed to your own pets that you picked out.
But like those vacation pet feeders, sometimes people use them kind of every day because their cat wakes them up at 3 a.m. and so it opens at 3 a.m. and it doesn't bother them anymore. So I do like those. What else? In the vein of bowls and things, those like slow down bowls. So they have feeding bowls that like have little kind of blunt spikes that come up so that they have to kind of work a little bit and it slows them down so they don't get their little reverse sneezes after they eat. Which my dog loves.
Some dogs just are known for sort of inhaling their food in about like 10 seconds it's gone. And so by having those types of bowls, it will help slow them down a bit.
Pet seatbelts.
Pet seatbelts are great. I mean, I think it's a good idea. They typically end up wearing some sort of like a harness or something, and then they kind of will buckle in the back, so they can still like sit forward and stuff, which I think is a good idea to have.
Take that opportunity to do that. I also recently got for my dog it's called a harness lead. That's what it is if you search for it. And it's actually an all-in-one harness and leash that you have to wrap it in a certain way, but it's sort of great because it simultaneously kind of cinches down all at the same time, and instead of sometimes with the harnesses they're a little too loose and the pets still really pull hard, or the leashes they go around their neck, this doesn't, it preserves the neck but it also doesn't allow them kind of that freedom and pulling as much.
That's cool.
So I like that. And then the last thing I was going to say was like clothing items. We all like to get clothes.
Well, that's what I was inferring to when you sort of might have done something indulging for yourself more than your actual guinea pigs.
Well, yes. So guinea pigs don't want to wear clothes, but I did, in doing the research for this, I ended up accidentally purchasing some guinea pig costumes.
They're adorable. They will absolutely do a great photo shoot and that will be perfect. Yeah.
So regardless, costumes and things are cute for pictures and stuff.
They're adorable.
Pets look kind of sad when you dress them up in costumes. But you could think of things when you're looking at clothes.
Yeah.
What do I need these clothes to do? I have a lot of clothes that I bought for my dog before I realized that she doesn't like clothes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking when I bought them, what do I want out of this other than it being cute? But like an example is it snows. My dog runs around the backyard and she gets all those little snowballs between her on her chest and like on her legs. Well, let me get something that covers all of that. So you can, buy clothing with the idea of what you need it for as well.
Yeah. I do think, and I think that some of the dogs in this area, I mean, people always think that we're being silly or funny by putting them in sweaters and stuff. I do think some of these little guys especially get really
very
cold. I'm cold when I go outside. So I do like a lot of
they just got a haircut.
I know. I do. I think it's nice. So I'm pro sweater. I feel like they look adorable and it helps keep them warm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are just some ideas. I don't know. Did you have any other?
No, I think those are awesome. I do. I think they're awesome. And honestly, it's super fun. I love buying gifts anyway. I mean, I'm just like a big gift giver. It's a lot of fun. So when you can incorporate your pets into it, I think it just makes the holidays a lot more enjoyable. We do have a question. Oh, look.
I was just going to say, don't forget that Christmas and other holidays, I should say, are fun for your pets anyway because they're home with you.
Yeah.
And there's wrapping paper for them to pounce on and play with, so you don't have to go crazy.
It's true.
What's our question?
We have a comment from Lauren Brees. She said, dog and advent calendars are awesome.
Oh,
Dog
calendar. Yes.
So each day you open it and there's something special for your pet.
Oh, I love that. That's super cool. They do so many cool things now. Like advent calendar. There's not even just the dog ones and cat ones. There's like kid ones, Lego ones and stuff. Yeah, there's like super cool advent calendars out there. I like that.
I assume that Lauren has an advent calendar for her pet.
Yes. Yeah.
So do we have any other questions?
No, that's it.
All right, well, I think then that's going to wrap it up for our podcast today.
Yeah, so that will be it for 2019.
Yeah.
So 2020, we'll think of some fun new things. If you guys have any suggestions or you want us to talk about anything in particular, please feel free to write us on Facebook or wherever you listen to your Apple iTunes. What are all the iTunes, Apple Podcasts, all those wonderful places. You can just leave us a message or email us. We would love to hear from you and be able to, talk about whatever you want us to talk about.
And thank you so much to our sponsors, Ethos Veterinary Health.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other sponsors? No. Ethos Veterinary Health.
Yeah. So
it's our full sponsor.
Yeah. And you guys all have a wonderful holiday season. From 2019, this is Lindsay Renzullo.
Vernaleken.
We'll see you soon.